attention at 6 o'clock and we'll get started.
Too busy, having fun.
Yeah, everybody visiting, having a good time. Okay, it's 6 o'clock and good evening and welcome to this evening's governing body meeting. If you will give your attention to Councilman Tony Emerson, who will give us the invocation. And if you can stand, if you're able, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As I'm sure everyone knows, this Saturday marks the 20th anniversary of the terror attacks on New York and Washington, D.C. And while life has gone on relatively unchanged for most of us since that time, it has not for the men and women in uniform, who many have been making the ultimate sacrifice ever since. And sadly, even as this anniversary draws near, our country suffered the loss in Afghanistan of 13 more sons and daughters, several who are just 20 years old and just starting their lives. I just ask that we pause for a moment of silence to honor their sacrifice and the sacrifice of so many others at this time. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Must have worked. Okay. Brenda, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mayor De La Isla, Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Here.
Council Members Hiller,
Here.
Valdivia Acala,
Here.
Ortiz,
Here.
Emerson,
Here.
Nager,
Here, and our screen is the coming up next Topeka City Council, so there you guys are. Thank you. I'm here.
Dobler,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
and Lesser.
Here.
So we have 9 present.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a proclamation. And if I could ask 2 ladies in the audience, one I think I know pretty well, and the other one I'm good friends with.
Okay.
Which is which?
If you will join me up here. Okay, before I get started, if I may, I'd like to introduce Rosa Cavazos. Many people know Rosa from the Greater Topeka Partnership. She's also a school board member, and she is here also as the governor's appointee for Kansas Tourism, and my wife, Veronica. She is here in her capacity as an appointed regional commissioner for the Kansas Hispanic American. No, you got me doing that earlier. I rolled this off earlier in the day, and she said, I can't ever say that. Why can't I do it? Now it's my turn. Kansas Hispanic American Affairs Commission here for the state of Kansas. She's a commissioner here for the region. So they're here to receive a proclamation by the mayor for the Welcome Week. And so, if I may, whereas Topeka, the capital city of Kansas, success depends on making sure that all individuals feel welcome here. All individuals are a vital part of our community, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas, starting businesses, and contributing to the vibrant diversity that we all value. And whereas this week we honor the spirit of unity that is bringing neighbors together across the city of Topeka, during Welcoming Week, I invite all Topekans to join this movement of communities nationwide by renewing our commitment to acting in the spirit of welcoming. By working together, we can achieve greater prosperity and make the city of Topeka the kind of place where diverse people from around the world feel valued and want to put down roots, and whereas regardless of where you were born or what we look like, we are Topekans, united in our efforts to build a stronger state by recognizing the contributions that we all make to create a vibrant culture and a growing economy. We make our community more prosperous and more inclusive to all who call it home. And whereas, let us come together to build communities where every member has the opportunity to contribute their best. Let us come together to create more prosperous communities and to reaffirm that the city of Topeka still stands as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. Now, therefore, I, Michelle de la Isla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do proclaim the week of September 10th, 2021 as Welcoming Week in the City of Topeka, Kansas. I encourage the citizens of Topeka to join in this observation. Congratulations. Yeah. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I would. So as an appointee on the Governor's Travel and Tourism Commission, this is exciting for us to be able to welcome people across the state to Topeka as well as to Kansas and give them some of our hospitality that we all know and love. So thank you very much for this.
No, you're welcome.
I'm just very glad that Rosa was able to do this for us. And as a member of KLAC, we're working across the state to make sure that this proclamation is going out to several communities. So thank you very
My
much.
understanding across the state of Kansas, the proclamation is being held at all those communities, several communities.
As many as possible, as many as we can get to do that. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor, while you're coming, I just want to say Rosa's on our local school board there as at 450, and it's an easy time to be on school board, so hope you're enjoying it. It's tough. I appreciate everything you guys do. That's a tough job right now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate those comments. And Madam Clerk, if you will read the consent agenda.
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Spencer Duncan granting Christ the King Catholic Church an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-158C concerning noise prohibitions. B are minutes of the regular meeting of August 17, 2021, and there are no applications.
Okay, the consent agenda having been read, what is the preference of the body?
Move approval.
I have a motion to approve and a second by Councilman Dobler. Brenda, if you'll take the roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Valdivia Acala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Councilmembers Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
and Hiller.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. On the agenda, we'll move on now to action items. If you will read, please.
A is approval of funding recommendations by the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Advisory Council in the amount of $606,942,000 for the 2022 Special Alcohol Fund.
City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So after last week, additional funding was made available for consideration of providing funding at the requested amount for the individuals. The review committee met, and through their process, you see they have amended their recommendations to the governing body related to how much funding each organization would receive. They've increased that funding to the requested amount that they had. So that was the process that we followed. First, we determined if the money was available, and then let the committee go back through and make a decision. So I don't know if the committee chair or anyone from the committee has comments in addition to what I provided.
Are there any comments or questions on this item? Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I just want to make a couple comments. Obviously, last week, I was one of the folks who said, hey, can we find a way to add some money to this? Particularly, my first priority was the difference of $8,000 or so to make them whole from previous budget years, from the previous year. I thought that was important primarily because of COVID and all things that we've gone through in this past year. I also think these services are clearly essential in this community. I'm glad to see that it was funded to the quote-unquote full amount. I did reach out to the chair, Don Crowder, because the message I do want to get across tonight and wanted to get across to them was they did good work. My wanting them to add this, they were given a certain set of parameters, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do within those parameters. We, of course, have a council, have the ability to change those parameters at the last minute and audible, as I think we're doing here, to say, hey, we can make some more dollars available. And of course, when that happened and they went back and did their review, they were able to make these groups whole. We did talk about the importance of the scoring system. I did have somebody talk to in passing with one of these groups, and I made it clear this is not the norm. It is not my desire to circumvent this committee ever moving forward. They're going to continue to do their job. They're going to continue to use that scoring system, and they're going to continue to hold groups accountable for those scores. And it is important to point out that there were no red flags among these organizations that the committee thought would, circumvent them from funding. There were some recommendations, particularly with board makeup, and those groups have been put on whatever notice it is that they're given. You got to do better next year, or we are going to have some very serious conversations about that funding. So I wanted to be held that all that will still hold true. But in bringing this up last week, it was important to me because of what the last year has been, because we are in a position to do it, and because we know this community is in desperate need of these services. I just felt it was important, and I'm glad staff was able to work with us and figure it out, and I hope we can help everybody that way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Further comment on this item? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. We'll move on to the next action.
Take a vote.
Probably be good to vote.
Probably ought to take a vote, yeah. Trying to get ahead of
Motion in a
myself.
second.
We'll entertain a motion. What is the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval.
Who was that?
Hannah.
Anna?
Hager.
Okay. Councilwoman Nager, a second.
Ortiz. She's got her hand up.
Ortiz? It's hard to see everybody up there. We have a motion and a second. If you'll call the vote, please.
Council members Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Pillar,
Yes.
and Valdivia Akla.
Yes.
We have 9 yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Move on now to action item 4B, if the clerk would read.
B is a public hearing to consider comment from the public concerning consideration by the governing body to exceed TMTA's revenue neutral rate, the R&R, of 4.059 and impose a proposed tax rate of 4.2 mils.
City Manager?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The city must conduct a revenue neutral rate hearing for the Topeka Metro Transit Authority. Board members are present tonight to provide comments.
Okay, thank you. I have here listed Dr. Alan Bierman. Mr. Bierman or Dr. Bierman, if you'd care to address us?
So thank you for the opportunity to visit regarding the Topeka Metropolitan Transit Authority. I'm not going to repeat what we said to you in the letter that we sent. I'm going to just add a few comments about Metro right now that I think might be helpful. Tell you about the great contributions of Metro to our community during this pandemic moment, about the work the Topeka Metro Board of Directors is taking to ensure the sustainability of Metro service for many years to come. During even the worst moments of the COVID-19 pandemic, Metro has continued to operate, and I believe that's important for all of us to recognize because it highlights the essential nature of Topeka Metro to the health and well-being of this community. Metro operated throughout the pandemic, but unlike what you have probably read about some larger Metro systems in the United States, Topeka Metro has not lost huge amounts of ridership. We are operating at approximately 65 to 70% of our pre-pandemic ridership, a number that with schools now back in session, we anticipate will grow. If one digs into the numbers, we find out that throughout the pandemic, Topeka Metro moved and a large number of essential workers to their places of employment. Employees work in the drive-through windows in restaurants across town with which today we're all far more familiar. Those at the grocery stores who fill the shelves and our online orders all get to work on Topeka Metro buses. Employees and patients at our large medical centres in Midtown get to work on Topeka Metro buses. They go to their appointments on Topeka Metro buses. And today, students are travelling to Topeka Public Schools, Washburn Tech, Washburn University on Metro buses. For too many years, we at Metro have tended to think about the service as a system of buses that moves people from the edges of Topeka just to downtown. The pandemic has made clear that essential employees live and work across the entirety of Topeka, and for many of them, Topeka Metro is their regular mode of transportation. We know this again because the ridership of Metro has remained stable throughout the pandemic and is growing again. Working with the staff, the board of Topeka Metro is currently planning for a sustainable future that first and foremost meets the needs of these regular Metro users. Maintaining the 4.2 mil levy for Metro is therefore mission critical. Topeka Metro is an economic driver in our community. It positively impacts the health of our community, allows our residents to access education. And the Metro Board is seeking to develop a sustainable future for Metro that ensures all of these types of people are recognised in our planning process. Our ability to support them, our regular riders, is at the forefront of our planning for the future. Accomplishing this means continuing to work with the City of Topeka and other partners in an inclusive manner. So on behalf of the Topeka Metro, thank you for your commitment to helping us ensure high quality service and for maintaining the 4.2 levy. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. If you'll just stand
Yep.
and see if there's anyone on the governing body who has questions that they may ask, want to ask about this?
Sylvia.
Oh, I see. Councilwoman Ortiz. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have a concern, not with the mill levy, but with something that has just happened. The bus is not going to provide masks anymore. They're going to deny people on the bus if they don't have a mask, and that's concerning to me with our low to moderate income people. I don't know what we could do to help him or to ask them to make sure that this is in their budget during this trying time. It's already sad that, you know, they don't already have, you know, they're trying to get to work and the salaries are low, but to deny them, that just really bothers me. Especially when we can get reimbursed for that due to COVID. Am I correct?
So on Friday this week, I think we have a work meeting. I guess my best answer is, well, I'll find out and see if we can't do something about that.
Okay, because that started today and I
Yeah.
got a couple of calls.
So we'll have a conversation about that and let you know what we can do. So
Okay, well, I would preferably like to see it done sooner than later.
well,
So that,
good news, Bob is here, the director of Metro. So I bet he'll work on it tonight.
thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further questions? Trying to look again. Okay, thank you, Doctor, appreciate
you.
it. Are there any questions from the body at all? Want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. If none, what is the pleasure of the body?
This is just a public hearing,
Oh,
so
just a public hearing?
just ask if there's anyone
Okay.
else that would like to come forward and speak.
Do the mayor's three calls. Yeah.
All right. Move on to the next one, please.
Yep. You need to do-
We have to, it's a public hearing, we have to ask if anyone wants to come speak to this.
Okay. I've been reminded that we've got to ask 3 times to make sure that there's no one else who wishes to comment on this item on our agenda. Any further comment on this item on the agenda? And for the third time, any public comment for this item on the agenda with MTAA? Okay. Seeing none, then we'll move on to the next item. Councilmember,
Now we vote?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, Deputy Mayor, is it, I guess the city attorney, is this something we need to vote on?
You will have to pass a resolution before you pass the budget, but we do that after the 3 public comment periods on the next 3 parts.
Okay,
so it's later on.
Yes.
yeah, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, that's right. Okay, move on to the next item C, City Manager.
C is a public hearing to consider comment from the public concerning consideration by the governing body of adopting a budget for 2022 that exceeds the revenue neutral rate, which is 38.350.
Okay, City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the city will now conduct a public hearing for the purpose of considering public comment related to our budget that exceeds revenue neutral, which is our revenue neutral rate of 38.350. If the governing body approves exceeding the revenue neutral rate, the governing body will adopt a budget that results in a tax rate of 39.687. So this time you can open the public hearing.
Okay. I don't have anyone signed up for a public hearing. I want to make sure. Okay, sir, have you signed up for the public hearing for this?
You don't have to.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. Would you like to speak? Okay. Will you step forward, please?
It's not on this item, though.
It's not on this item?
No, that's what I was trying to think about.
Oh, okay, I
It's a
couldn't hear you.
public hearing.
Couldn't hear you with the
I'm
mask.
sorry,
It's a public hearing, so if you,
Yeah, okay,
It has to be by this item.
all right. Thank you, my apologies. Okay, want to check again, then make sure that if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this item, item C, come forward now. Anyone who wishes to speak to this item for the second time? And for the third time, anyone who wishes to speak to item C on this agenda? Seeing none? Hearing none?
City
Yes, ma'am.
Deputy Mayor, I just want to refresh for the record that this body on March, when we first went into the budget process, we voted affirmatively that we would not exceed the mill levy that we'd had in the past. When we had a number in there.
Right.
So we're
Yeah,
just
that's
carrying
when
forward
our
on that commitment that we
proposed
made.
budget number for mills is the number that you see that's mentioned in the documents. We voted to conduct the revenue neutral hearing with the ability to exceed the revenue neutral rate if we wanted to.
Right.
And it's the number that you'll see in item 4D. I'll bring it up as far as where we're at.
Which matches
keeping
where
the
we
mill
are
levy
now.
currently in place.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's similar to what TMTA had, just
Yes.
holding the levy the same was our
Correct.
commitment. Thank you.
Yep, holding the mill levy the same.
Okay. Having asked 3 times, now we'll move on to item D. Madam Clerk?
D is a public hearing for the purpose of hearing and answering objections of taxpayers relating to the proposed City of Topeka 2022 operating budget.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to?
I just have a couple comments
Okay.
before we
City
start
Manager.
that hearing. So the City of Topeka is required to conduct a public hearing, which you are doing now on the 2022 proposed budget. The proposed budget maintains the mill levy at the current rate of 39.687. The budget is similar in construction to what was proposed last year. There are no major changes in the budget from the previous year. So we'll stand for any questions when we go to consider the proposed budget.
Okay. Any questions from the body? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item in this public hearing? Anyone who wishes to speak to this public hearing item on the operating budget for 2022?
No.
4E.
And then for the third time. Anyone wishing to speak on this item 4D, public hearing on the City of Topeka operating budget? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to item 4E.
E is a resolution introduced by City Manager Brent Trout to levy a property tax rate on behalf of the Topeka Metro Transit Authority, TMTA, that exceeds the revenue-neutral rate.
City Manager?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is a resolution that establishes the exceeding of the revenue neutral rate by Topeka Metro Transit Authority. It'll allow them to exceed the rate of 4.059 and put their mill levy rate at the 4.2 that they had last year. So in other words, it keeps the mill levy rate the same, so it would be 4.2. And that's the resolution before you for approval.
Okay. We have any questions from the governing body? Any questions? Anything on Zoom? Nope. Okay. What is the pleasure of the body?
Move approval.
Have a motion to approve
Second?
and a second from Councilman Emerson. If you'll call the vote, please, Brenda.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
and Ortiz.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Move on to action item 4F, if the clerk would read.
F is a resolution introduced by City Manager Brent Trout to levy a property tax rate exceeding the revenue-neutral rate.
City Manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The resolution presented is to allow the City of Topeka to exceed the revenue neutral rate of 38.350 and establish our mill levy rate at 39.687. This is the same mill levy rate as we charged last year, so it carries over the mill levy without an increase to the mill levy rate. Staff requests approval of this resolution.
Okay. You've heard the presentation. Any questions from the body?
Deputy Mayor? Not a
Councilman
question, but a
Emerson.
comment. I just really appreciate everything that staff did, and Mr. Wade, you kind of came in here at the last minute and did all this, so I really appreciate the work you and the city manager and all your staffs have done, so thank you.
Duly noted. Any other comments from the governing body? Okay. Thank you. What is the pleasure of the body?
Move approval.
Have a motion to approve by Councilman Emerson,
Second.
second by Councilman Dobler. If you'll call the vote, please, Brenda.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
and Emerson.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Move on to action item 4G, and we have Mr. Joe Ledbetter, who has signed up to speak to this item.
Wanted to read it first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Brenda, would you go ahead and read?
We have an appropriation ordinance introduced by City Manager Brent Trout approving and adopting the operating budget for the City of Topeka for the year 2022 and appropriating the amounts for the purpose as set forth therein.
Okay. Sorry about that, Brenda. Okay. Mr. Ledbetter, if you wish to speak to the item.
Evening, board and governing body. I know I've spoken many times already about operating budgets and my concerns, and so I've sent those by email yet again tonight, some of the highlights. Just a couple things I want to say on the record. Obviously, I've said this over and over again. This city needs our police. We cannot defund them, so I don't want any kind of negative thing done to any of our police budgets. I know you're not, but I just want to say that on the record that we don't want to repeat the mistakes of several major cities across this country that have defunded the police last year and see escalating crime now. Another thing that I'm very concerned about is escalating debt that this city has taken on, and I really, really strongly urge you to not take on especially more revenue debt, bond debt in the future for a while. We really need to get control of these bond issuances, in my opinion, especially on revenue bonds, since we use that as the reason to raise water rates. I just find it amazing how we do this circular firing squad with our bonds and then our rates and then our bonds and our rates, and I'm not seeing the work done that we were promised on replacing water lines. So I think we need to definitely do a pause there, and I think it'll be better for the citizens and our pocketbooks, and we don't have to worry so much about Moody's when you're not borrowing, okay? Another thing that I just want to say, I've said that we, as a body, as a board, I think we really need to start cutting middle management positions, and I think those can be identified. And I do believe in some privatization. I've particularly looked at, in the future, if we would do this, looking at more of the seasonal positions. And that's what Parks and Rec did with mowing. And they've saved hundreds of thousands and cut personnel costs. And they really had to, because they had to save money. And but it's worked. The parks look good. I'm not going to say which ones are private and which ones are still done by the county, but they look good across the board. And so it does work. We actually do some privatization with the forestry department too. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm on that advisory, and I get very involved in budgets wherever I'm at. And by the way, I'm sure that we will have that discussion about those masks, Ms. Ortiz, with the MTA this Friday. I asked about it outside the door. So. Anyway, I do listen, and I know you listen, and I hope that a lot of my comments that went on the record with emails, as well as these meetings, that you'll consider in the future and help the city cut costs, and ultimately, I think it'll help our bottom line, help us maybe grow in the future when there's less cost involved in running the city, or at least trimmed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do you have further comment from the governing body on this item? Councilman Dobler.
Thank you. I actually have to agree with Mr. Ledbetter. Might mark that one down. Debt is an issue. It's climbing. And part of the issue is we pass the CIP first part of the year. It's a big document. It's hard to dig into all of it. A couple years later, projects are constructed. A couple years after that, we sell bonds. And the argument when we sell bonds is, well, you guys approved the CIP and we built the projects, and now we got to, whether they're revenue bonds or general fund. And then a couple years later, it's time to raise utility rates, and the argument is, well, we sold these bonds, we've got debt service. It's tough to put all of that together, even for somebody that's been around all of it for a while. So what I've asked finance to do, and Steve Wade did a great job of really putting together a simple pro forma, so where we can see the projects that we approve in the CIP, what the result is 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, whatever it is. He's done that. We have a good start on it, I think. I'm going to ask Councilman Duncan, who is chair of the Policy and Finance Committee, to get together with the Infrastructure Committee, have a joint committee meeting, probably sometime in October, to start the review of that pro forma and, in essence, our debt service policy. I know we have a policy, but it's we're not going to go over this much, but by the time we get there, it's tough not to do that. And we need to get a handle on it. So I'll make that proposition. I'm sure we can get our two committees together. I think those are our two appropriate committees, and start talking about it. And by the time we're sitting here next year, for the folks that are back, I hope we have a better handle on debt, because it is a big chunk of our budget. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I appreciate your comments. I think it's encouraging, and still I think the idea that we do accept is that the committees get a lot of work done together, and even coming together like this on this specific item, I think shows the willingness of the body to try and work things out so that it doesn't come back to be revisited, and it's hard to remember all that stuff when it's been, like you said, 2 or 3 years down the road. But
Yeah.
I think this is an excellent idea, so I commend you for making that recommendation. I think it's great, and be looking forward to that report.
Great. Well, thanks to Steve and his group for putting that together, so.
Thank you. Any further comments on this item, on the operating budget? Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. People know that I'm passionate about this, and I too will risk sounding like Joe gave me ideas or something like that, but it's worth it. I will support the budget this year, but I did want to take the time. This often is the only time of year we get to talk about the overall running of the city, and the budget certainly is a part of that. And so I wanted to explain why I'm supporting it, but also add some vision, just for the record. I think the staff has worked really hard on this, and I appreciate it so much, as well as the council. And I think that committee work through the year is building a stronger knowledge base, and that's good. I'm really proud that we're not raising taxes. And I think there's still room to move. I'm pleased that we cut down and trimmed our borrowing this year. I'm thrilled to hear what Councilman Dobler is saying, because I've felt like a Lone Ranger for a long time, and somehow we were able to put it so people could see a little more clearly what it really means to us. And I'm pleased that we're now actively looking for alternatives. I'm pleased that there have been good discussions in a variety of ways about economies and efficiencies. Those are changes that really will make a difference, that will let us work smarter and better at the level that we are. I'm excited to give new leadership staff a chance to continue making a difference and getting on board, engage with this. So I think we have as good a framework as any that we could hope for to start with. In terms of the vision, though, I would challenge all of us that I think we need to save absolutely at least $1 million, but more like $3 to $5 million out of this budget, that we don't stop here. I hope that neither the staff or the council will let go of that. There are still many of the changes that we need are not so much budget as management changes, but those do result in budget efficiencies and economies as well, and you've already heard some examples from others. There are still a number of department reviews that were promised last year that haven't been addressed yet, and I hope that those will come forward. I won't name names tonight, but I had a list last year, and probably one of them got addressed, and we've added to that. We've done some other good work, but I think we need to get to them this year. We need to look at, there have been some various conversations about redefining or redeploying certain staff positions. I think we need to continue working on that. We set some improved customer service goals for this year that maybe because of COVID haven't advanced as much as they could. Better customer service is a better city, and it also saves money because you don't get any of the phone calls, much less pass them around to 5 or 6 people and everybody on the council. It really is critical. It was a good objective, and we need to keep working on it. And we need to keep working on plans such as what has been discussed for water, about looking at the map of where those water main breaks are, for instance, and looking at some master planning of major projects so we're not just chasing water main breaks all over town, just as an example. With that, then, I think we need to use the ARPA and infrastructure funds that are coming as a chance for a once-in-a-lifetime, truly for almost all of us anyway, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to roll the over $4 million a year that had migrated its way into our debt service budget over the years and get it out of there. For each dollar we save, there's borrowing, there's another 40 cents on top of that, or that we'll save in interest. And so looking at that a little more easily, $1 million at a time, that's $400,000 in savings. That's a lot of money that can be spent then on saved or spent on other things. Looking at what we've had on our plates, besides wanting to save money on the dollars that we're spending now, we've got some big capital projects coming up. Whole Quincy right on the horizon, discussions of big city building projects and so on. If we can roll that money out, use the infrastructure and the ARPA money wisely, we'll have money under that debt service cap that we just talked about to do major projects and things that will grow and advance our city. We've got a good council, so I just wanted to reiterate that, and we need to, in my view, continue that vision and collaboration. I think we're in a good place, and we really are moving. Sometimes we get caught in the proverbial weeds and don't see that, but we really are, and so credit to everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anyone else would like to make some comment?
Deputy Mayor.
Oh, I can see it.
Councilman Nigger.
Go ahead. Councilwoman Hannah Nager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Mike.
Good.
I just really appreciate all the work that has been put into this process, and I appreciate also looking into making those adjustments in the future to pay down our debt, to make sure that that's not shackling us, so we can really invest in our services and the people who work for our city government. We have had discussions as a governing body about wanting to attract good candidates here for different jobs. We also want to make sure that as we're investing in our utilities and our roads, that we are using quality, sustainable products. And so I really appreciate us looking to the future to make sure that Topeka is a great city for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further comment? Steve, were you raising your hand or fixing your glasses?
Hoping it was over.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. If there's no further comment, what is the pleasure of the body?
Deputy Mayor, I'm not running, so I'll move for approval.
Have a motion to approve. Is there, and Councilwoman Nager is a second. So, Brenda, will you call the roll?
Councilmembers Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And the last action item that we have is item H. Brenda, would you read?
H is a resolution introduced by City Manager Brent Trout temporarily suspending until October 6, 2021, certain governing body rules.
City Manager?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Well, the work being done on our governing body chambers is a little behind schedule. They're waiting on some materials to arrive before they can complete the renovation. They may be done within the next week or two, but just to be on the safe side, I'm requesting that we move to the process of waiting until October to beat back in the governing body chambers. And so this would move it to one day after our first meeting in October, October 5th. So we can continue to meet this way. Also, it allows, as it relates to the COVID and continuing to allow the use of the Zoom system.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the governing body?
So I guess this is half question, half comment. The policy committee is working on what will be some adjusted rules that will cover some issues moving forward, but we punted those back. And so those probably won't be done for another month or two. We're not going to meet for another month or so. But so that's the reason I asked this question is, I just guess I want to ask this to the body, less the staff, I guess, my colleagues here. I mean, October 6th, I guess we'll either be asked to vote again to extend, or beginning October 6th, it will be back to the quote-unquote original rules, of which we all need to be in person. I mean, and I'm okay with that personally. But I mean, I really feel kind of like we've decided before, if on October 6th we're going to take this vote again, we might as well do some forward thinking and decide now if October 6th is where we want to have this conversation again, or if realistically we've decided we're going to go another month beyond that and maybe we don't know the answer to that now, but again, it just feels silly to do this every few weeks if we sort of know we're going to have to do it every few weeks till either the end of the year or end of October or November. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer, so I wish I was being a little more clear and throwing out a definitive, this is what we should do, but this seemed like the appropriate time to at least have that conversation and see if anyone cared or not.
And there's,
City Manager?
the thing I'll say is there's nothing that precludes us from going, I mean, we'll go back in the chambers, and there's nothing that precludes us from, if it was approved for November, which actually would be after the first meeting in November we meet, which is actually the second meeting in November, because the first Tuesday we don't meet. We could actually suspend whatever we approve as a resolution and decide we're going to go back to normal, so to speak. At that point, at any point, we could pull back the resolution that we've approved. So if you wanted to go ahead and go 2 months, we could do that.
We could suspend the suspension if we wanted to.
Yes, you could suspend the suspension, Councilman.
Thank you.
You were waiting to say that, weren't you? Councilman
I was.
Dover?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, so what the city manager's saying, I'm hearing correctly, I think, is that if we suspended the rules till the end of the year, but as soon as the chambers are ready, we'll move back there.
Right, for sure.
I see that.
I think the first time we suspended the rules was for like 2 months in March of 2020, and here we are a year and a half later. Why don't we just do this till the end of the year? And we can also always
First meeting in January, then.
always
to go
suspend the
beyond that.
suspension if, if miraculously this all goes away. And
So January 5th of 2022,
I mean, that's my thoughts. I guess I'm
that
curious
would
what
just-
everybody else thinks.
that would just be the motion then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. There was someone else on Zoom? Councilmember Ortiz. Oh.
I would
What's
second,
Ortiz?
I would second that. That way we don't even have to deal with it, but I would second that.
Councilwoman Alcala, your picture came up. Did I not see your hand up, or?
Olivia Alcala? No, I didn't have any comment.
Okay. Councilwoman Keller.
Thank you. I support that as well. A question sort of across the table to Councilman Duncan. One of the things that came up in the course of the conversation last time, a couple weeks ago when this came up, was the issue about letting the public be able to Zoom whenever anybody from the council was. And you had spoken after that meeting about perhaps getting that back as a discussion topic with the council, which I think is a good idea. I like the idea of just opening it up till the end of the year. We could always decide everything's fine and we're going back to normal. I guess I'm thinking that, for instance, with these real tight turnarounds, I think of both the council's plans and expectations of being able to Zoom. I don't know how many people are planning around that, but we've had people that normally would not have Zoomed in that have. And then citizens as well. We publish our agendas 2 weeks in advance. If we were going to change the accessibility of the public to our meetings and swing back to limiting people to showing up in person or not being able to speak, that could feel kind of sudden to the public as well. So,
Councilmember Duncan.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we will discuss as it relates to that on that committee is I don't expect that committee to bring back a specific recommendation as to what that long-term policy will be. I think we are going to try to have a conversation about it, because our thought is the entire council needs to have that conversation. I mean, we will come back with
No, I
some
agree.
recommend. Right. So we will talk about it, and that's one reason it will be sent back, so we can have a conversation more about it, decide the best way, some suggestions and staff, and then bring it to the council and say, okay, here's how we view it. Here's some options. Now let's as a group decide with that law. So yes, but that will absolutely be an active part of that discussion, because it's a new world we have learned, and even if we are in the chambers, this council will need to have a discussion about, the accessibility of things like Zoom, for staff moving forward to prepare. And that was the other reason I thought if we extend it tonight, staff has a better idea, the support staff here, of knowing, okay, we've got to set this stuff up for the rest of the year or not, or at least for a few more months instead of just every month. Are we doing it next month? Are we doing it next month? So, but yes, that will be a discussion that we'll have, and then we'll bring something back as a stepping off point for the rest of the council to talk about.
Thank you.
So Councilman Dobler, did you make a motion to that effect?
I certainly did.
And the second one was, who was the second?
Ortiz.
Was from Councilwoman Ortiz? Okay, good. Just want to check and make sure. All right, we call the vote, please.
Council members Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala, Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
and Nager.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Good suggestion.
Well,
Yeah,
Councilman Duncan started it.
he started it.
He started it, yeah.
That concludes all the action items that we have on the agenda. We now move to public comment. We have 6 people signed up for public comment. The first one is Miss Sandra Lassiter. Miss Lassiter? Sandra Lassiter? Okay. Second person we have is Mr. Joseph Wakefield.
Excuse me, I'm trying to get it all set up. I didn't think I'd get up here that soon, but let me see. Actually, again, my name is Joseph Wakefield, and around August, there was comments in regards to Mr. Trout being on in the media about the 400 surveys that were sent out. All right, can y'all hear me? Because of my mask? Well, I guess I'm safe up here. I don't know. Okay, so that was back in August, and those surveys were distributed in our community about social services, etc. I can appreciate the city's observance that the community should be involved. The news broadcast that Mr. Trout did not reveal the survey was available online as to give others the same opportunity to participate. And I called his office to find out that we can go online. And as of today, found out that it's being worked on, and maybe by now, I think we can do it. He said that around 2 o'clock that we should, by the end of the day, be able to take the survey and it'll be online for the rest of the week, which I thank him for doing that, because I feel that the community should be involved. And I'd like to say that it would be nice to have total clarity, and while we're being transparent on all issues concerning us, the community, that is very concerning to me, as it seems that there isn't the transparency that some of us feel that is necessary to have as input on various subjects. I feel we need consistency in being transparent. The transparency needs to start at the top, considering today's climate involving racial circumstances, and I hear too many times that our city is not transparent as we wish it to be. These issues bring about tensions that divide our community. There needs to be trust before we can expect change. There's 125 citizens approximately in Shawnee County, and I think more than 400 people would have something to say about what's going on in our community. And I talked to him on how the 400 surveys were divvied up throughout the community, so I get that, you know. But I don't know if that was decided based on your budget, you know. I mean, there's many ways I felt that it could be handled to where everybody in Topeka, in Shawnee County, could have got that, because y'all know as well as I do, you can take your water bill or trash bill, and there's always attachment. Let's say this. Your rates are going to go up on January 1st. So how about we just say there's a survey online? That's how that could have been done at a cheaper cost, mind you. Okay, I would think anyway. But anyway, we always seem to have the budget or the monies to fund other necessary projects. But I think this project needs the attention that it deserves, because our community has been lacking for many years. And some of y'all sitting here are older than me. I just turned 65 the other day. So I've been around here for a long time. I graduated from Highland Park in 1974, and I could still ride up and down that area and see the same things that we saw as kids. For example, 10th in California, right there by the interstate. That needs to be cleaned up, okay? Why is there a car sitting over there on 6th and Carnahan, what is it, 6th and Branner? There's a car wash. It needs to be torn down. And mind you, thank y'all for stepping up and taking care of White Lakes and whoever the owners are on that, okay? But that's an eyesore over there on 6th Street. That car's been sitting there at least all summer long. It's been obviously stolen because it's stripped. It's been burned. It's been sitting there. And I believe that if it had been on the west side of Topeka Boulevard, it wouldn't have sat there no longer than 8 to 24 hours. I bet you that.
Mr.
Okay?
Wakefield?
Yes, am I time up?
Would you like to have more time?
Yeah, just a couple minutes or a minute and see. I just want to say I think this was
Okay,
a good.
Mr. Wakefield?
Yes, sir.
We'll
Yes, sir.
have to vote on that, so we can get.
All right.
We'll be glad to do that.
All right.
Okay.
Council members Duncan,
Actually, I don't even need a couple minutes.
Yes.
2 minutes.
Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yeah.
Ortiz,
Are we voting on a minute or a couple minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Padilla,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
and Dobler.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, proceed, Mr. Wakefield.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. As I said, this project should be given more priority that it truly deserves, because of the fact that this is a serious situation, because our city services, they fall short for people that are in need, okay? And I think y'all know that. I think Topeka just needs to be more clear and open, and in regards to our public servants, I think they need to step up and be more exact and in explaining, you know, certain things so that we totally get it, and that we all are going to be a part of the situation that those 400 surveys represents. Okay, so, you know, we already lack the trust for us to come together, and I feel strongly that presentations such as these need more transparency, complete and absolute. And that's all I have for y'all today. Thank you very much. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, sir, for your comments.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I have here that we have Pastor Carl Frazier on Zoom. Is he on Zoom?
Yep.
There he is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pastor?
Yeah. First, good honor to Mayor Michelle in our absence, and Deputy Mayor, and the entire council. I'm here to talk about the Housing Trust Fund. Good evening. My name is Pastor Carl Frazier. I'm from New Hope and Love Community Church, 2901 Southwest Evenside Drive here in Topeka. Council member Neil Dobler, our church is in your district. Our church collaborates with McEachern Elementary School. I'm a member and a vice chair of Topeka Jump, which is a bunch of single voices that come together and move in the same direction to weigh in on the serious decisions being made in our community. I'm not just a member of Topeka Jump, but I serve this community. And I have followed people with interests that are very closely aligned with my own. So tonight I speak for myself and my family. I also speak for members of my social groups and my same age and within my faith community. I know you are familiar with Topeka Jump. Being in our organization have given me a way to be in relationship with other clergy and faith communities. About 20 of us meet regular and in the community, and it is the most diverse group I have ever been able to participate in, and been very meaningful to me and my congregation. I always said that we might not agree on religion, but we can agree on social justice. One of the things that is desired to see affordable rental options for families making less than $40,000 a year. We are understand that the staff is working on a proposal for how to support the trust fund long term, but discussing that proposal and actually getting in place will take some time. But in the meantime, my colleagues and I would like to see this governing body include the Housing Trust Fund in the list of things that funded by the American Rescue Act money, which this initiative investment, this community can get started right now. And as soon after, hopefully there will be a dedicated fund source in place to continue to support the Housing Trust Fund long term. I believe others of my colleagues have come before you, and so that you know that I am particularly interested in you hearing my support for your decision to include the Housing Trust Fund in a list of things funded by the American Rescue Act money. The benefit of affordable houses in Topeka will have an active housing trust fund, just like cities across this country. Children would have beautiful places that they can say, this is my home. It would add more options for families to live. It would provide more jobs and increase the economy in our city, and many benefits to families and businesses. Out of the $46 million, I hope that you can set aside $5 million to invest in housing for our family in less than $40,000 a year for all over the city, especially address these serious equity gaps and economic development needs. I am pretty sure many families from the elementary school can benefit from Housing Trust Fund. My mother taught me never forget where I came from. I came from a very small housing project in Star City, Arkansas. Today, I still return to my old neighborhood. And I
Pastor,
Pastor? Yes, sir.
Pastor, your time is up. Would you like a few more minutes or some more time?
Get 2 more minutes.
Two more minutes?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion is second. If you give us a minute, Pastor.
Council members Lesser,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Council members Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption, Pastor. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. My mother taught me to never forget where I came from, which is a small housing project in a little small town called Star City, Arkansas. Today, I still return to my old neighborhood. I hope that if you could approve the $5 million of the Housing Trust Fund, many children will have a home or neighborhood to return to too. Thank you for listening to me and seriously consider my comment this evening. I pray that God blessing into you all life, and may God bless each one of you. Pastor Frazier, God bless. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Pastor, for your comments. Okay. Next, we have signed up Mr. William Nager. I saw him. There he is.
May I remove the mask for?
Good evening.
Good evening. Deputy Mayor, governing body, I appreciate you listening to another topic after such a full agenda tonight. I didn't realize until I saw tonight's agenda that there would be the proclamation of the Welcoming Week this week. But I want to keep in mind a phrase from there. By working together, we can achieve great prosperity and make the city of Topeka the kind of place where diverse people from around the world feel valued and want to put down roots. As the U.S. military withdraws from Afghanistan, there are still many families that need help. They sacrificed so much, put their lives in danger, and did what the American government asked them of. American soldiers told them that they were going to back them whenever they fought for their freedom, for their unalienable rights. These families can find pockets of community right here in Topeka. We have the opportunity to have hardworking and innovative people helping to accelerate our own success. Gaining these new neighbors is widely popular. 73%, nearly 3 in 4 Americans, support welcoming Afghans into the United States. These represent people from across party lines. The U.S. House just passed a bill to support relocating Afghans by a massive majority of 407 to 16. In a statement, our own Congresswoman, Representative LaTurner, prioritized the safety of the Afghans that fought alongside us for freedom. A majority of U.S. senators, including both senators from Kansas, signed a letter stating that, quote, the safety and security of our Afghan allies who put their lives on the line to help our service members and diplomats must be a priority, end quote. The United States has offered sanctuary for people in the past and gained teachers, small business owners, nurses, scientists, artists, members of Congress, soldiers, and Olympians who now win gold medals for Team USA. Here in Topeka, they might open a unique restaurant or a local grocery store. They might go to Washburn Law and learn how to make the legal pathway for those who follow them a little bit easier. They might go to K-State and study agriculture, engineering, and they could bring that very knowledge back to Topeka at the Plug and Play Center. They might put their child through Baker Nursing, or they could end up working at KU Medical Center. They can't do those sort of simple things in their home, and I don't see why they shouldn't have the opportunity to do that here. These are the kinds of people who we would be lucky to have in our city, and I would be ecstatic to have be my new neighbors. But right now, many of them are still yearning to breathe free. As we're trying to find some meaning among the tragedies that we're never going to forget, I hope that this welcoming of Afghans could be one way that we find some meaning in our community. Imagine what you would do for your own family, for your parents or your children. I cannot help but whenever I see the images in the news or think about this issue, but to think about my newborn baby niece and what I would do to get her somewhere with safety, somewhere where she could pursue an education, a career, personal dreams, and just have some peace. Now, I understand that local government taking a major role in this specific issue is maybe not conventional, but if that were my family, and I think the same would be true of you, I could not care less. I would do anything and everything to try and speak up and make a bit of a difference on this issue. As President Gerald Ford said, we have a profound moral obligation to these families. So let's reaffirm that the city of Topeka still stands as a beacon of freedom, opportunity, and let's get to work to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next on the agenda, we have Pastor Lorna Bowden on Zoom. Here she is. Pastor, can you hear us?
I can, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead and proceed.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and council members. I am Pastor Lorna Bowden. I am the pastor at Tecumseh United Methodist Church. Tecumseh UMC has been involved with Topeka Jump from its very beginnings, really largely in part because several of our congregants live in Topeka. And it's really exciting to be in a relationship with such a diverse group of clergy and their congregants as we work together to come forward to those who make decisions and let them hear our voice and help them. Decisions that affect our neighborhoods and affect our friends. You see, our joy comes in helping others succeed. And we know when this happens, Topeka succeeds. And I've heard a lot tonight about how we can all play a part in this Topeka being a successful community where people want to come and are welcomed to come. So I know some of my colleagues have come to you before and have expressed their interest for your support in the Housing Trust Fund. And with hopefully some of that money coming from the American Rescue Act monies. I truly believe that this tool, if we use it properly, can be a true game changer for people in this community. Not only will it honor our seniors, especially in helping meet their needs, but it also can support young professionals at the same time. And it might just be the tool to keep these young people in Topeka who may have gotten out of college and have started at entry-level pay. It'll help them so they can continue to pay down possible student loan debt and then have a safe and affordable place to live. But tonight I speak not only as a member of Topeka Jump, but also as a pastor who has lost a long-time committed member of our church to the affordable housing issue. As a senior living alone only on Social Security, she was forced to move out of state to find housing that she could afford, leaving her close friends and her family in Topeka. She was an incredible asset to our church, and she was a very important role model with her family. We were all very, very saddened to see her leave, simply because there was no affordable and safe place for her to live in Topeka. So my prayers and my hopes are that out of the $46 million that we have part of, I know, that you all would make the decision to set aside $5 million to invest in housing for families that make less than $40,000 a year, all over the city, as well as to address, as Pastor Carl said, the equity gaps and the economic development needs. That's what this issue is. But it is also an opportunity to invest in the lives of your fellow Topekans. So I thank you this night for your listening and seriously considering my comments, and may God bless all of you as you do the work for all of us.
Thank you, Pastor, for your comment. And we also have Joseph Ledbetter signed up. I saw him get up and leave.
He said he was leaving.
He's going to pass? Okay. All right. That concludes the public comments. We'll move on to announcements. City manager, or?
Let her read the agenda for next.
Okay, agenda.
For the September 14th meeting, we have 2 board appointments. On the consent agenda, we have a resolution for condemnation for the West Zone Water Tower. We have a noise exception and special event for Axe and L Block Party. Action items include a resolution for conditional use permit at 1319 Southeast 6th Avenue, an ordinance for a zoning change at 1115 Southwest Wanamaker Road. We have an ordinance for utility bill real estate liens for 2021. We have a resolution for the Kansas Homeland Security Hazard Mitigation Plan. We have 3 labor agreements, one for the Fraternal Order of Police, for fire, and for water.
Teamsters.
Sorry. Teamsters, yes, sorry. Teamsters, fire, and police. That's it.
Thank you. City manager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know some of you have met her already, but I want to make sure and introduce Amanda Stanley, our new city attorney. Super to have her on board, and I know she is making contact with each of you to try and get to know you a little better. introduce herself and allow you to understand where her background is. And of course, we're super excited to have her on board. Couple comments that was mentioned related to the survey. The chief of staff has been the person kind of spearheading that project. He gave me a note that said the survey will be available next week online for all to complete. The reason that we did the survey the way we did was in order to get a scientific sample of individuals that would allow us to gauge an overall opinion. All of the comments from those that maybe desired weren't in that scientific sample that fill out. We're excited to get their comments as well. And then those kind of comments will be added into the mix. We've had good success with the survey so far. We're going to be extending receipt of those for an additional week. We've had over 400 that have already submitted them, and we're going to continue to move forward in accepting those. So just wanted to let you know that are having good success with the survey and looking forward to eventually presenting the results to you in November.
Thank you, City Manager. It's good to see that there's that much participation in the survey, to have that volume of respondents already. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Tony Emerson.
Nothing tonight, Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll pass by me and move on to Councilwoman Nager.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I really appreciated, Councilman Emerson, your moment of silence at the beginning of tonight's meeting. It's been a long 20 years and a lot has happened. And at the same time, there's some times where it feels like a lot hasn't happened. And I know that I've heard this a lot from my patients and friends and family who have served in the military, because it's been a very, very hard month for many of our service members. And I just wanted to go ahead and remind people that in this difficult time, please make sure that you're reaching out for help. Make sure that you're reaching out to your family, to your friends, to the people you served with. Know that we appreciate the work that you've done. And if you are needing help, please reach out to the Veterans Crisis Line. The number is right here. It's 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Or you can go to www.veteranscrisisline.net. Please know that you are not alone in this, and we want to do everything we can to take care of you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Dover.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Two quick things. One is, I've been really pleased to see the amount of overlay paving in District 7. Seems like everywhere I go, it's looking like brand new streets. It's good to see. I do have a small issue with some of the communication from the contractor, but I'm going to let the city Public Works Director answer that before I comment on it in public. The other thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to hammer this until we start doing something about it, and that's growth. You know, the census data came out recently, and of the top 10 cities, sorry, get this over a little closer. Of the top 10 cities, only 2 lost population, Topeka and Salina. And you know, I didn't really see the angst among the folks in town that normally care about those type of things, and I don't understand why. If you're not growing, you're dying. There's no two ways about it, and we are not growing. You know, we've had a lot of discussion tonight about affordable housing. That's part of it, but we cannot just focus on one part of the equation. We need higher level growth that fuels the coffers of the city so we can do other things. We don't have that right now. We're stagnant, and we don't seem to know how to do anything about it. We better figure it out pretty quick, because I guarantee you in the 2030 census, Lawrence is going to be bigger than Topeka. And much as I like Lawrence, really not that much, but I don't want to see that happen. So we better get it figured out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Duncan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's funny you say that, Councilman Dobler, because the last couple weeks I've taken criticism for being critical of some organizations who are moving out of Topeka. And I thought, how am I taking criticism for fighting for what exactly I was elected to do and keep those people and those organizations and those businesses here in town? So we got to keep up that good fight and keep hollering a little bit and doing what we can to keep them in town. Well, after he stood in front of us all and gave us a good pitch about how they were going to help our city and then kept open the emergency services of the VA, they then shut down our substance abuse program here in the city of Topeka. It's not coming back. I don't think there's anything we can do. Oddly enough, a day later, they opened one up in Wichita, so I think we know what happened there. They moved it from point A to point B. I did express my disappointment to one of our senators who was at that ribbon cutting that he had not returned any of the community's comments about concerns about closing this one down here. So we have lost our VA substance abuse program, and that's a shame because it's something else as we pass those dollars earlier tonight that we will have to continue to make sure that our veterans are taken care of when they're in need of that program. So we all need to keep on top of the VA and make sure that they don't slip these ones in us and cut new ribbons on one side while they're kicking the other out the back door. I did see our public works director today on KSNT. He did a great job. Told everybody how great we're going to be this winter. Set the bar very high when it comes to snow removal. So now we have a lot to live up to there. So he made sure he put that one out there. So I expect us to keep pressing on that. And then I will say, while we were sitting here, we did get an email. It came out after our meeting start. It was an end of watch reminder. It was 7 years ago tonight that Corporal Jason Harwood was killed in the line of duty. And so I think we'd be very much remiss for not recognizing his sacrifice on behalf of our city, continuing our prayers for his family and remembering that moment. So thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for reminding us, Councilman Duncan. It's important for us to not forget the service that we receive locally from our law enforcement, as well as the service that we receive from our military. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Councilman Lesser?
Nothing tonight, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. As chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee, I just wanted to refresh. Hopefully everybody got a press release today. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala and I in particular have been working with Molly Hatfield and Monique Glaudet from the staff to put together what we discussed back on August 17th amongst this body, a really robust set of public input sessions to hear from the public about ways that we could address code compliance in the broadest of sense. Property maintenance code, I should say, we've been working on making sure we didn't just call it code, but property maintenance code. We need all of you to help get people out, whether it's your residents, whether it's professionals or individuals that you know that are interested in housing and neighborhoods and revitalization. As we all know from our different vantage points, there are lots of moving parts in the property maintenance issues that we have. And so what we've done as a committee is put together this series of input sessions where in simple terms, we want citizens to give us ideas on how we could improve enforcement. There's a lot of different ways to look at that, how we could improve enforcement, how we can best help people who do need help with compliance, and how as a community bring Topeka up to the standards that all of us want to see in terms of housing as well as premises, vegetation, so on, just how we are put together as a city. There will be a website dedicated to this with all sorts of information on it. There's a video that Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala found, which is sort of a best practices discussion at a community type input meeting. It's really good to kind of get people's wheels turning, and we're encouraging everybody that's interested in the subject matter to watch that sometime next week, the second week of September, and come out of that with at least one idea that they they thought sounded like it was workable, as well as pencil their own ideas for what they think could work. Again, that could be enforcement related, it could be support related, it could be community initiative related. For instance, if we're going to add vegetation back in, we got to figure out how to get ourselves from where we are today to where we think it should look. And so that might involve some citizen initiatives, for instance. Other ideas have to do with enforcement techniques, collaboration amongst departments, just oiling our machine so it works a little better and smoother. We're expecting that the people who come to these hearings will be people who have some familiarity with some issue, whether it's vacant properties, overgrown properties, substandard. But our invitation is please come with ideas. The preliminary resolution from the committee will be posted online on that website as it was before we met on the 17th here. The staff response to that will be posted as well for people that want to do a deep dive into reading that. We have had some great support and put together a PowerPoint slide presentation which will be used to stimulate discussion at the hearings. But if people want to just brush up on it in advance or just want to go online, that will be on that webpage as well. And an opportunity to submit input via the webpage will be there. Per the discussions and some feedback we got from you, we actually will have 7 sites for those public input sessions. 2 of them will be right here, and they will be the bigger Zoom meetings where people can come in or they can come by Zoom and participate fully. Then we have 5 others in neighborhoods scattered around the city. Hillcrest Community Center next Monday. I'll get back with Joe and make sure he comes. That's the one he wants to come to. Central Park Community Center, Crestview Community Center, Garfield Community Center, and Lundgren Center. So if somebody has a particular date that works for them, the 2 that will be here, one will be in the morning and one will be in the evening on different days of the week. So hopefully we can catch pretty much anybody's schedule in terms of participating. If people want to sign up for Zoom, there'll be instructions, but Liz from our council staff will be handling that. When you see the PowerPoint, you will see that we've already started to list. This was City Manager Trout's idea, was to just run a steadily building list of the ideas that people have had. So we've already stocked the end of that with an appendix that has started to list the different ideas that have come in to us, including ones that came at our council meeting. And we will continue to add to that throughout the series of meetings, which are scheduled basically the last 2 weeks of September. So we're just going to hit it hard and get through it. You'll be able to see those. Those 2 will be posted on that web page. I think starting tomorrow or by the end of the week, there'll be a link right at the home page on our city's website so people can get into it quickly. And it's also the link is included in the release. So just wanted to encourage you to get people out. We really need those innovative ideas, and often those come from people who've been watching and talking about it over the dinner table or whatever, and we want to have them come out and share them with us. So Councilwoman Valdivia will follow up on anything I forgot. She's been tremendous to partner with on getting this moving. So we're hopeful to have lots of people and lots of good ideas to bring back to you in October. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Valdivia.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have several announcements. One is that I just wanted to remind folks that myself and some community advocates continue it started on August 26th, going to October 7th online, the Topeka Housing and Race Equity Summit virtual sessions. We have had 2 so far. Last week, we had a very powerful presentation that I've shared with the entire governing body on the history of redlining. I feel so strongly about this presentation. I truly believe, as we're talking about some of the issues we're facing about losing folks, I think that one thing we need to get a handle is we see all of these intersections occur about housing, talking about affordable housing, the housing study, folks that have been highlighted in their bad practices in the Topeka Capital Journal, and he'll remain unnamed until a later date. All of these intersect, as well as a multiplicity of other issues when we look about how we can make the city more interesting, and also do our due diligence with the folks that live here. I believe that all financial institutions in Topeka should look at this historic fact-based series that Donna Ray Pearson has done with the library on the history of redlining. We also have coming up housing and neighborhood revitalization. We have the next week, the data of disparity. We have also someone coming in, Esau Freeman from Wichita, on the human right to a living wage. We have elected officials and their accountability to you presentation. Also, we have organizing as community activists and advocates, Organizing 101. And then at the end, October 7th, a session that will help us bring it all together, and hopefully a number of folks to move forward with a plan of action. So if you need more information on it, call me at 233-7110, or you can call Danielle Twemlow at 220-9607. Also wanted to let you know that the North Topeka West NIA will be hosting their movie night on the lawn on September 18th. Gates open at 7 p.m. Show starts, which is the Sandlot, at 7:30. It is free and open to the public. The location is Logan Elementary School in their football field, and I do believe that address is 1124 Northwest Lyman Road. Also, I want to express deep condolences to the family of Dave Warren. Dave passed away on August 26th. He was a former owner of Dave's Auto Repair in Oakland. He was the Vietnam veteran and a staunch supporter of Sacred Heart Church and the Oakland community. Having known Dave for so long and a horrific struggle that he went through with cancer, rest easy, friend, rest easy. Also, finally, just to touch on what Karen was talking about, we encourage residents from around the city to attend one of the or more of the public health and safety public input sessions on changing the culture of property maintenance. I truly believe, and I think folks that are engaged in this as well, believe that this could be the beginning of a really meaningful city neighborhood collaboration, and perhaps somewhere in the future, private entities as well. There's so much to say about where we're at, right? People are busy, they're tired, they're COVID weary, any number of things. Yet I want to say to Topeka folks, we need you to be there. Neighbors, we need you to be there. We need small businesses there. We need anyone that cares about really lifting up the entire community. And that means all of our communities and all of our districts to attend these meetings and give your input and insight. Because we need to do something about bringing up everyone when it comes to home ownership and rental housing, and to improve the safety and appearance of our community. These meetings are geared towards creating a viable, proactive plans, and really what we envision and we inspire our community as a whole to be. It will be a very busy month. We hope to see council people there along with us. Karen and I will be at most of them, or one of us will be at least one of them, along with community engagement and hopefully someone from code compliance. But here we stand a real chance to do something aligned with our neighbors. So neighbors, we need you there. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say, Karen, your persistence has paid off. You finally get to go into the community. After COVID hit us, that stopped our committee, but your persistence has paid off. So kudos to you. Second, I'd like to say Central Park NIA has an NIA meeting that night at 6:30, the same night as your program. So you might want to talk to Daryl Stewart, who is the new NIA president.
They are hosting.
Okay.
They're hosting.
That's great to hear.
Yep.
Just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Yep.
And last but not least, I want to send out condolences and prayers to Sister Sandra Lassiter and Bishop Lassiter on the passing of his mother. Mother Lassiter was a big pillar in that community, and she prayed for everybody across the board. I remember she left something on my answer machine my first term that I ran. So condolences goes out to them, as well as Tony Garcia and his family. Tony served 32 years for the city of Topeka, retired as a shift commander and served on several community projects. So our thoughts and prayers go out to them as well. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to make a quick comment before we leave the announcements. Listening to everybody's information, that's why I kind of passed on me to begin with, because I want to hear what everybody else had to say. It really brings together a lot of what I think even we heard from the public comment section when we're talking about inclusion, equity, and diversity. All the things that you guys brought, that the council brought tonight, talked about that in a different way. Sometimes I think that when we bring that topic up of DEI, that it's has to be a specific program or has to be something that singles out a group. But the way you've brought different subjects here talks that this council continues to work to better the lives of the diverse population that we have here in Topeka. So I think it's extremely important that I acknowledge what you have done, what Karen is doing and what Valdivia Alcala is doing and everybody else. Those are the kinds of things that really speak to some of the comments that we heard at the podium from the public comment. So I think it's important that we note that this is an inclusive community. Mr. Nager's comments about welcoming another group to our community and how it could enrich our community, I just think that they're well taken. I think that everything that we're doing as a body right now shows that this is a working group, that it's not any individual that's taking credit or any individual that is off on a tangent. We're all working together on different subjects and topics, but they all come together for the end result of what we all have as a common goal. So I thank everyone on the council for their comments tonight and on their announcements, and encourage anybody in the city of Topeka to chime in on some of these events that are coming up. Don't be left out. This is your opportunity to take advantage of everything that's coming our way. So thank you very much. We'll move on now to what we believe we need to have an executive session. If our city attorney would speak.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. The motion would be to recess into executive session for 40 minutes to discuss employer-employee negotiations relating to fire, police, and street departments as authorized by KSA 75-4319B3. The open meeting will resume in the Cyrus K. Holiday Building, first floor conference room. The motion would also include requesting the following staff to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Manager Trout, Chief of Staff Cochran, HR Director Russell, Budget Director Wade, Senior Assistant City Attorney Kuckelman, City Attorney Stanley, Chief Duke, Acting Chief Wheels, and Public Works Director Jackson.
Okay, thank you very much. No action will be taken when the meeting resumes. What is the pleasure of the body?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Akla,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Emerson,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Councilmembers Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Lesser.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. So we will resume, we'll take a executive session for 40 minutes.
Correct, that would be 8:20 when you would resume.
Excuse me?
8:20 when you would resume.
Okay, thank you, I couldn't hear. Appreciate that. So, we'll now,
We take a break.
we'll adjourn into executive session.
Recess into
We can take
executive
it
session.
As soon as we get. Okay.
Break.
Let people know.
Just Okay, good. Okay, we have concluded our discussion in executive session. No action was taken. There be no further action coming before this body. This meeting is adjourned. That's the part I like the best.